This is not a Bible study. Episode 10, Moses' Last Discourse. That is the book of Deuteronomy, beginning in February of the 40th year of the Exodus. These are the words which Moses spoke to all Israel beyond the Jordan, in the plain wilderness, over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban and Haserot, where there is very much gold. 11 days' journey from Horeb by way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. In the 40th year, the 11th month, the first day of the month, Moses spoke to the children of Israel all that the Lord had commanded him to say to them. After that he had slain Sihon king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and Og king of Bashan, who abode in Ashtaroth, and in Edrei, beyond the Jordan in the land of Moab. And Moses began to expound the law, and to say, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, and with your whole soul, and with your whole strength. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall tell them to your children, and you shall meditate upon them sitting in your house, and walking on your journey, sleeping and rising. And you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be and shall move between your eyes. And you shall write them in the entry and on the doors of your house. When the Lord your God shall have brought you into the land which you are going in to possess, and shall have destroyed many nations before you, the Hittite, and the Girgashite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, 7 nations much more numerous than you are, and stronger than you. And the Lord your God shall have delivered them to you. You shall utterly destroy them. You shall make no league with them, nor show mercy to them. Neither shall you make marriages with them. You shall not give your daughter to his son, nor take his daughter for your son. For she will turn away your son from following me, that he may rather serve strange gods, and the wrath of the Lord will be kindled, and will quickly destroy you. But thus rather shall you deal with them. Destroy their altars, and break their statues, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven things, because you are a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be his peculiar people of all peoples that are upon the earth. Not because you surpass all nations in number is the Lord joined to you and has chosen you, for you are the fewest of any people, but because the Lord has loved you, and has kept his oath which he swore to your fathers, and has brought you out with a strong hand, and redeemed you from the house of bondage, out of the hand of Pharaoh the king of Egypt. And you shall know that the Lord your God, he is a strong and faithful God, keeping his covenant and mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments unto 1,000 generations, and repaying forthwith them that hate him, so as to destroy them without further delay, immediately rendering to them what they deserve. Keep therefore the precepts and ceremonies and judgments which I command you this day to do. For if you keep the commandments which I command you, and do them, to love the Lord your God, and walk in all his ways, cleaving unto him, the Lord will destroy all these nations before your face, and you shall possess them, which are greater and stronger than you. Every place that your foot shall tread upon shall be yours, from the desert, and from Lebanon, from the great river Euphrates unto the western sea shall be your borders. None shall stand against you. The Lord your God shall lay the dread and fear of you upon all the land that you shall tread upon, as he has spoken to you. Behold, I set forth in your sight this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day. A curse, if you obey not the commandments of the Lord your God, but revolt from the way which now I show you, and walk after strange gods which you do not know. And when the Lord your God shall have brought you into the land where you go to dwell, you shall put the blessing upon Mount Gerizim, the curse upon Mount Ebal, and you shall pass over the Jordan to possess the land which the Lord your God will give you, that you may have it and possess it. See therefore that you fulfill the ceremonies and judgments which I shall set this day before you. A little note here that, first of all, you have 7 nations in the land of Canaan. We recognize in this symbolically the 7 deadly sins, and that we are to give them no quarter. Second of all, that the blessing and the curse are to be pronounced upon Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, which are 2 mountains very close to one another on either side of Shechem, which has been a place that has come up in the lives of Abraham and Jacob and Joseph, and will come up again and again and again. It's the same place where Jesus is talking to the Samaritan woman, and she says, this mountain, she's talking about Mount Gerizim, which is literally right over them. And so the blessing and the curse are pronounced from those mountains. These are the beasts that you shall eat, the ox and the sheep and the goat, the hart and the roe, the buffle, the chamois, the pigarg, and the wild goat, the camelopardus. Every beast that divides the hoof in 2 parts and chews the cud you shall eat. But of them that chew the cud, but do not divide the hoof, you shall not eat, such as the camel, the hare, and the cherogril. Because they chew the cud, but do not divide the hoof, they shall be unclean to you. The swine also, because it divides the hoof, but does not chew the cud, shall be unclean. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch. These shall you eat of all that abide in the waters. All that have fins and scales you shall eat. Such as are without fins and scales you shall not eat, because they are unclean. All birds that are clean you shall eat. The unclean do not eat, namely, the eagle, and the gripe, and the osprey, the ringtail, and the vulture, and the kite, according to their kind, and all of the raven's kind, and the ostrich, and the owl, and the loris, and the hawk according to its kind, the heron, and the swan, and the stork, and the cormorant, and the porphyrion, and the night crow, the bittern, and the caradrion, every one in their kind, the hoop also, and the bat. Everything that creeps and has little wings shall be unclean, and shall not be eaten. All that is clean you shall eat. But whatsoever is dead of itself, do not eat of it. Give it to the stranger that is within your gates to eat, or sell it to him, because you are the holy people of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a kid in the milk of his mother. Every year you shall set aside the tithes of all your fruits that the earth brings forth, and you shall eat before the Lord your God in the place which he shall choose, that his name may be called upon therein. The tithe of your corn, and your wine, and your oil, and the firstborn of your herds and your sheep, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God at all times. But when the way and the place which the Lord your God shall choose are far off, and he has blessed you, and you cannot carry all these things there, you shall sell them all, and turn them into money, and shall carry it in your hand, and shall go to the place which the Lord shall choose. And you shall buy with the same money whatsoever pleases you, either of the herds or of sheep, wine also and strong drink, and all that your soul desires, and you shall eat before the Lord your God, and shall feast, you and your house. And the Levite that is within your gates, beware you do not forsake him, because he has no other part in your possession. The 3rd year you shall separate another tithe of all things that grow to you at that time, and shall lay it up within your gates. And the Levite that has no other part nor possession with you, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are within your gates, shall come and shall eat and be filled, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the works of your hands that you shall do. The Lord your God will raise up to you a prophet of your nation and of your brethren like unto me. You shall hear him. As you desired of the Lord your God in Horeb, when the assembly was gathered together, and said, Let me not hear any more the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see any more this exceeding great fire, lest I die. And the Lord said to me, They have spoken all things well. I will raise them up a prophet out of the midst of their brethren, like to you. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I shall command him. And he that will not hear his words, which he shall speak in my name, I will be the revenger. But the prophet who, being corrupted with pride, shall speak in my name things that I did not command him to say, or in the name of strange gods, shall be slain. And if in silent thought you answer, How shall I know the word that the Lord has not spoken? You shall have this sign. Whatsoever that same prophet foretells in the name of the Lord, and it does not come to pass, that thing the Lord has not spoken. But the prophet has forged it by the pride of his mind, and therefore you shall not fear him. You shall not take nor remove your neighbor's landmark, which your predecessors have set in your possession, which the Lord your God will give you in the land that you shall receive to possess. One witness shall not rise up against any man, whatsoever the sin or wickedness be. But in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word shall stand. If a lying witness stand against a man, accusing him of transgression, both of them, between whom the controversy is, shall stand before the Lord in the sight of the priest and the judges that shall be in those days. And when, after most diligent inquisition, they shall find that the false witness has told a lie against his brother, they shall render to him as he meant to do to his brother. And you shall take away the evil out of the midst of you, that others hearing may fear and may not dare to do such things. You shall not pity him, but shall require life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. When a man has committed a crime for which he is to be punished with death, and being condemned to die is hanged on a gibbet, his body shall not remain upon the tree, but shall be buried the same day. For he is accursed of God that hangs on a tree, and you shall not defile your land which the Lord your God shall give you in possession. You shall not pass by if you see your brother's ox or his sheep go astray, but you shall bring them back to your brother. And if your brother be not near, or you do not know him, you shall bring them to your house, and they shall be with you until your brother seek them and receive them. You shall do in like manner with his ass, and with his raiment, and with everything that is your brother's which is lost. If you find it, do not neglect it as pertaining to another. If you see your brother's ass or his ox to be fallen down in the way, you shall not slight it, but shall lift it up with him. A woman shall not be clothed with man's apparel, neither shall a man use woman's apparel, for he that does these things is abominable before God. If you find as you walk by the way a bird's nest in a tree or on the ground, and the mother sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, You shall not take her with her young, but shall let her go, keeping the young which you have caught, that it may be well with you, and you may live a long time. When you build a new house, you shall make a battlement to the roof round about, lest blood be shed in your house, and you be guilty if anyone slip and fall down headlong. You shall not sow your vineyard with diverse seeds, lest both the seed which you have sown and the fruit of the vineyard be sanctified together. You shall not plow with an ox and an ass together. You shall not wear a garment that is woven of woolen and linen together. You shall make strings in the hem at the four corners of your cloak, wherewith you shall be covered. An eunuch whose testicles are broken or cut away, or yard cut off, shall not enter into the church of the Lord. A mamzer, that is to say one born of a prostitute, shall not enter into the church of the Lord until the 10th generation. The Ammonite and the Moabite, even after the 10th generation, shall not enter into the church of the Lord forever, because they would not meet you with bread and water in the way when you came out of Egypt, and because they hired against you Balaam, the son of Beor, from Mesopotamia in Syria, to curse you. And the Lord your God would not hear Balaam, and he turned his cursing into your blessing, because he loved you. You shall not make peace with them, neither shall you seek their prosperity all the days of your life forever. You shall not abhor the Edomite, because he is your brother, nor the Egyptian, because you are a stranger in his land. They that are born of them in the 3rd generation shall enter into the church of the Lord. When you go out to war against your enemies, you shall keep yourself from every evil thing. If there be among you any man that is defiled in a dream by night, he shall go forth out of the camp, and shall not return before he be washed with water in the evening, and after sunset he shall return into the camp. You shall have a place outside the camp to which you may go for the necessities of nature, carrying a paddle at your belt. And when you sit down, you shall dig round about, and with the earth that is dug up you shall cover that which you are eased of. For the Lord your God walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and to give up your enemies to you. And let your camp be holy, and let no uncleanness appear therein, lest he go away from you. You shall not deliver to his master the servant that is fled to you. He shall dwell with you in the place that shall please him, and shall rest in one of your cities, giving him no trouble. There shall be no whore among the daughters of Israel, nor whoremonger among the sons of Israel. You shall not offer the hire of a strumpet, nor the price of a dog, in the house of the Lord your God, whatsoever it be that you have vowed, because both of these are an abomination to the Lord your God. You shall not lend to your brother money to usury, nor corn, nor any other thing, but to the stranger. To your brother you shall lend that which he wants, without usury, that the Lord your God may bless you in all your works in the land which you shall go in to possess. When you have made a vow to the Lord your God, you shall not delay to pay it, because the Lord your God will require it. And if you delay, it shall be imputed to you for a sin. If you will not promise, that shall be without sin. But that which is once gone out of your lips you shall observe, and shall do as you have promised to the Lord your God, and have spoken with your own will and with your own mouth. Going into your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat as many grapes as you please, but must carry none out with you. If you go into your friend's corn, you may break the ears and rub them in your hand, but not reap them with a sickle. If a man take a wife and have her, and she does not find favor in his eyes for some uncleanness, he shall write a bill of divorce, and shall give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed and marries another husband, and he also hates her and has given her a bill of divorce, and has sent her out of his house or is dead, the former husband cannot take her again to wife, because she is defiled and is become abominable before the Lord, lest you cause your land to sin, which the Lord your God shall give you to possess. When a man has lately taken a wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall any public business be enjoined him, but he shall be free at home without fault, that for 1 year he may rejoice with his wife. You shall not take the nether, nor the upper millstone for a pledge, for he has pledged his life to you. If any man be found soliciting his brother of the children of Israel, and selling him shall take a price, he shall be put to death, and you shall take away the evil from the midst of you. Observe diligently that you do not incur the stroke of leprosy, but you shall do whatever the priest of the Levitical race shall teach you, according to what I have commanded them, and fulfill it carefully. Remember what the Lord your God did to Mary in the way when you came out of Egypt. When you shall demand of your neighbor anything that he owes you, you shall not go into his house to take away a pledge, but you shall stand outside, and he shall bring out to you what he has. If he be poor, the pledge shall not lodge with you that night, but you shall restore it to him presently before the going down of the sun, that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless you, and you may have justice before the Lord your God. You shall not refuse the hire of the needy and the poor, whether he be your brother or a stranger that dwells with you in the land, and is within your gates. But you shall pay him the price of his labor the same day, before the going down of the sun, because he is poor, and with it maintains his life, lest he cry against you to the Lord, and it be reputed to you for a sin. The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children for the fathers, but every one shall die for his own sin. You shall not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor of the fatherless, neither shall you take away the widow's raiment for a pledge. Remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and the Lord your God delivered you from there. Therefore I command you to do this thing. When you have reaped the corn in your field, and have forgotten and left a sheaf, you shall not return to take it away, but you shall suffer the stranger and the fatherless and the widow to take it away, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the works of your hands. If you have gathered the fruit of your olive trees, you shall not return to gather whatsoever remains on the trees, but shall leave it for the stranger, for the fatherless, and the widow. If you make the vintage of your vineyard, you shall not gather the clusters that remain, but they shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. Remember that you also were a bondman in Egypt, and therefore I command you to do this thing. If there be a controversy between men, and they call upon the judges, they shall give the prize of justice to him whom they perceive to be just, and him whom they find to be wicked they shall condemn of his wickedness. And if they see that the offender be worthy of stripes, they shall lay him down, and shall cause him to be beaten before them. According to the measure of the sin shall the measure also of the stripes be. Yet so that they exceed not the number of 40, lest your brother depart shamefully torn before your eyes. You shall not muzzle the ox that treads out your corn on the floor. When brothers dwell together, and one of them dies without children, the wife of the deceased shall not marry to another, but his brother shall take her and raise up seed for his brother. And the first son he shall have of her, he shall call by his brother's name, that his name be not abolished out of Israel. But if he will not take his brother's wife, who by law belongs to him, the woman shall go to the gate of the city and call upon the ancients and say, My husband's brother refuses to raise up his brother's name in Israel and will not take me to wife. And they shall cause him to be sent for immediately and shall ask him. If he answer, I will not take her to wife, the woman shall come to him before the ancients, and shall take off his shoe from his foot, and spit in his face, and say, So shall it be done to the man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of the unshod. If two men have words together, and one begin to fight against the other, and the other's wife, willing to deliver her husband out of the hand of the stronger, shall put forth her hand and take him by the secrets, you shall cut off her hand, neither shall you be moved with any pity in her regard. You shall not have diverse weights in your bag, a greater and a less. Neither shall there be in your house a greater bushel and a less. You shall have a just and a true weight, and your bushel shall be equal and true, that you may live a long time upon the land which the Lord your God shall give you. For the Lord your God abhors him that does these things, and he hates all injustice. Remember what Amalek did to you in the way when you came out of Egypt, how he met you, and slew the hindmost of the army, who sat down, being weary, when you were spent with hunger and labor, and he did not fear God. Therefore, when the Lord your God shall give you rest, and shall have subdued all the nations round about in the land which he has promised you, you shall blot out his name from under heaven. See, you do not forget it. And when you are come into the land which the Lord your God will give you to possess, and have conquered it, and dwell in it, you shall take the first of all your fruits, and put them in a basket, and shall go to the place which the Lord your God shall choose, that his name may be invocated there. And you shall go to the priest that shall be in those days, and say to him, I profess this day before the Lord your God that I am come into the land which he swore to our fathers that he would give it to us. And you shall speak thus in the sight of the Lord your God. And we cried to the Lord God of our fathers, who heard us, and looked down upon our affliction and labor and distress, and brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand, and a stretched out arm, with great terror, with signs and wonders, and brought us into this place, and gave us this land flowing with milk and honey. And therefore now I offer the first fruits of the land which the Lord has given me. And you shall leave them in the sight of the Lord your God, adoring the Lord your God. And you shall feast in all the good things which the Lord your God has given you, and your house, you and the Levite, and the stranger that is with you. When you have made an end of tithing all your fruits, in the 3rd year of tithes you shall give it to the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, that they may eat within your gates and be filled. And you shall speak thus in the sight of the Lord your God. I have taken that which was sanctified out of my house, and I have given it to the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, as you have commanded me. I have not transgressed your commandments, nor forgotten your precepts. I have not eaten of them in my mourning, nor separated them for any uncleanness, nor spent anything of them in funerals. I have obeyed the voice of the Lord my God, and have done all things as you have commanded me. Look from your sanctuary and your high habitation of heaven, and bless your people Israel, in the land which you have given us, as you swore to our fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. This day the Lord your God commands you to do these commandments and judgments, and to keep and fulfill them with all your heart and with all your soul. You have chosen the Lord this day to be your God, and to walk in his ways, and keep his ceremonies and precepts and judgments, and obey his command. And the Lord has chosen you this day to be his peculiar people, as he has spoken to you, and to keep all his commandments, and to make you higher than all nations which he has created, to his own praise and name and glory, that you may be a holy people of the Lord your God, as he has spoken. Therefore, when you are passed over the Jordan, you shall build there an altar to the Lord your God, of stones which iron has not touched, and of stones not fashioned nor polished, and you shall offer upon it holocausts to the Lord your God, and shall immolate peace victims, and eat there, and feast before the Lord your God. This commandment that I command you this day is not above you, nor far off from you. Nor is it in heaven that you should say, which of us can go up to heaven to bring it to us, and we may hear and fulfill it in work? Nor is it beyond the sea that you may excuse yourself and say, which of us can cross the sea and bring it to us, that we may hear and do that which is commanded? But the word is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. Consider that I have set before you this day life and good, and on the other hand, death and evil, that you may love the Lord your God, and walk in his ways, and keep his commandments and ceremonies and judgments, and you may live, and he may multiply you and bless you in the land which you shall go in to possess. But if your heart be turned away, so that you will not hear, and being deceived with error, you adore strange gods and serve them, I foretell you this day that you shall perish, and shall remain but a short time in the land to which you shall pass over the Jordan, and shall go in to possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness this day that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Choose therefore life, that both you and your seed may live, and that you may love the Lord your God, and obey his voice, and adhere to him, for he is your life and the length of your days, that you may dwell in the land for which the Lord swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he would give it them. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, the days of your death are nigh. Call Joshua and stand in the tabernacle the testimony, that I may give him a charge. So Moses and Joshua went and stood in the tabernacle of the testimony. And the Lord appeared there in the pillar of a cloud, which stood in the entry of the tabernacle. Moses therefore wrote the canticle and taught it to the children of Israel. And the Lord commanded Joshua the son of Nun, and said, Take courage and be valiant, for you shall bring the children of Israel into the land which I have promised, and I will be with you. Therefore, after Moses had written the words of this law in a volume and finished it, he commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a testimony against you. For I know your obstinacy and your most stiff neck. While I am yet living and going in with you, you have always been rebellious against the Lord. How much more when I shall be dead? Gather to me all the ancients of your tribes and your doctors, and I will speak these words in their hearing, and will call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will do wickedly, and will quickly turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And evils shall come upon you in the latter times, when you shall do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him by the works of your hands. Moses therefore spoke in the hearing of the whole assembly of Israel the words of this canticle, and finished it even to the end. Hear, O heavens, the things I speak. Let the earth give ear to the words of my mouth. Let my doctrine gather as the rain, let my speech distill as the dew, as a shower upon the herb, and as drops upon the grass, because I will invoke the name of the Lord. Give ye magnificence to our God. The works of God are perfect, and all his ways are judgments. God is faithful and without any iniquity. He is just and right. They have sinned against him, and are none of his children in their filth. They are a wicked and perverse generation. Is this the return that you make to the Lord, O foolish and senseless people? Is he not your Father that has possessed you and made you and created you? Remember the days of old. Think upon every generation. Ask your Father, and he will declare to you, your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he appointed the bounds of people according to the number of the children of Israel. But the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land, in a place of horror and of vast wilderness. He led him about and taught him, and kept him as the apple of his eye. As the eagle enticing her young to fly and hovering over them, he spread his wings and has taken him and carried him on his shoulders. The Lord alone was his leader, and there was no strange God with him. He set him upon high land, that he may eat the fruits of the fields, that he might suck honey out of the rock and oil out of the hardest stone, butter of the herd, and milk of the sheep with the fat of lambs, and of the rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the marrow of wheat, and might drink the purest blood of the grape. The beloved grew fat and kicked. He grew fat and thick and gross. He forsook God who made him, and departed from God his Savior. They provoked him by strange gods, and stirred him up to anger with their abominations. They sacrificed to devils and not to gods whom they knew not, that were newly come up, whom their fathers did not worship. You have forsaken the God that begot you, and have forsaken the Lord that created you. The Lord saw and was moved to wrath, because his own sons and daughters provoked him. And he said, I will hide my face from them, and will consider what their last end shall be. For it is a perverse generation, and unfaithful children. They have provoked me with that which was no God, and have angered me with their vanities. And I will provoke them with that, and will vex them with a foolish nation. A fire is kindled in my wrath, and shall burn even to the lowest hell, and shall devour the earth with her increase, and shall burn the foundations of the mountains. I will heap evils upon them, and will spend my arrows among them. They shall be consumed with famine, and birds shall devour them with a most bitter bite. I will send the teeth of beasts upon them, with a fury of creatures that trail upon the ground, and of serpents. Without the sword shall lay them waste, and terror within, both the young man and the virgin, the suckling child with the man in years. I said, where are they? I will make the memory of them to cease from among men. But for the wrath of the enemies I have deferred it, lest perhaps their enemies might be proud, and should say, our mighty hand, and not the Lord, has done all these things. They are a nation without counsel and without wisdom, that they would be wise and would understand and would provide for the last end. How should one pursue after 1,000, and two chase 10,000? Was it not because their God had sold them, and the Lord had shut them up? For our God is not as their gods, our enemies themselves are judges. Their vines are of the vineyard of Sodom, and of the suburbs of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, and their clusters most bitter. Their wine is the gall of dragons, and the venom of asps which is incurable. Are not these things stored up with me and sealed up in my treasures? Revenge is mine, and I will repay them in due time, that their foot may slide. The day of destruction is at hand, and the time makes haste to come. The Lord will judge his people, and will have mercy on his servants. He shall see that their hand is weakened, and that they who are shut up have also failed, and they that remained are consumed. And he shall say, Where are their gods, in whom they trusted, of whose victims they ate the fat, and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them arise and help you, and protect you in your distress. See that I alone am, and there is no other God besides me. I will kill, and I will make to live. I will strike, and I will heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. I will lift up my hand to heaven, and I will say, I live forever. If I shall whet my sword as the lightning, and my hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and repay them that hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, in the blood of the slain and of the captivity of the bare head of the enemies. Praise his people, you nations, for he will revenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to their enemies, and he will be merciful to the land of his people. So Moses came and spoke all the words of this canticle in the ears of the people, and Joshua the son of Nun. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab unto Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah over against Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah unto the furthermost sea, and the south part, and the breadth of the plain of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Zor. And the Lord said to him, This is the land for which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your seed. You have seen it with your eyes, and shall not pass over to it. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there, in the land of Moab, by the commandment of the Lord. And he buried him in the valley of the land of Moab over against Fogor. And no man has known of his sepulchre until the present day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, neither were his teeth moved. And the children of Israel mourned for him in the plains of Moab 30 days. And the days of their mourning in which they mourned Moses were ended. And Joshua the son of Nun was filled with the spirit of wisdom, because Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel obeyed him and did as the Lord commanded Moses. And there arose no more a prophet in Israel like to Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, in all the signs and wonders which he sent by him to do in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh and to all his servants and to his whole land, and all the mighty hand and great miracles which Moses did before all Israel. Next time we will be crossing into the Promised Land. God's blessing be with you.